Welcome to Spacevidcast 4.22 for Sunday. I don't know how to do this anymore.
The 22nd.
January 20. Whoa. I didn't even catch that going into it.
Yeah, 422 on 122.
Whoa. We are your hosts, Benjamin and Gary and Higginbotham, and we're going to have an action-packed epic episode for you this afternoon.
Boosh!
Bunch of space news, and I think it would be best if we just got started with space news. Yes, we brought back the old open. One thing that's been going around quite a bit is there's been a slight delay. Falcon 9 Flight 3, which is the first mission to the International Space Station from a private company,
right,
is delayed. The news organizations are saying, let's see here.
They're saying everything.
Yeah, they are. They're really all over the board. So according to the link at the bottom of your screen, that'll bring you to a space.com article. And basically it says that it will be no earlier than March. Well, it just says March.
Late March.
Until late March,
yep,
at the earliest.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's that's the Dragon spacecraft you see on the screen right there.
So
at the Cape.
pretty.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
It is.
And that will be launching from Space Launch Complex 40 from Cape Canaveral. I can't remember if it's 40 or 41.
I'm leaving that one up to you. Sorry, buddy.
Uh-oh. I should totally remember that.
Yeah, you should.
I'm just going to look that up really quick.
Remember that in every way, shape, and form. Wow. Anyhow.
Slick 41. Thank you, guys. The chat room to the rescue. I said 40, and I'm like, that sounds wrong. That can't be right. Yeah, Slick 41, Space Launch Complex 41 from Cape Canaveral. That's SpaceX's launch complex.
Yes.
So, SpaceX has basically said, look, we're going to launch when the vehicle's ready.
Right.
And we want a little bit more time to test out some stuff, so we're going to test out some stuff, and when it's ready, it's ready.
Which, makes sense. I really don't understand people who are being overly critical.
I don't feel like anyone was overly critical in the news, right? I mean, everyone was like, it's delayed.
I don't know. I've heard a couple of people be like, oh, well, isn't that cute? That little company that couldn't. And I don't know. It seems like really harsh, I think.
I don't know. I haven't seen that at all.
Okay.
Most everyone has been, this is the space industry, stuff gets delayed.
Right.
That's what happens. So, yeah, that's what I've been seeing.
Well, good.
So there you go. It's delayed. Just like the space shuttle or anything else.
Just like NASA.
Speaking of NASA, there is a Florida Today article, the link on the bottom of your screen. What is it? Congress is asked to issue yet another study.
This is so silly.
Of NASA. And if we remember, when President Obama first came to office, he had a study sent out that said, okay, is NASA on the right track?
Right.
On the right path for what we're doing. At the time, we had Constellation, and the study came back and said, actually, no, Constellation, we can't afford Constellation. It's not going to reach any of its objectives. It's woefully behind time. NASA is not on the right course.
Right.
Well, only 3 funding cycles later, they've issued another study. And keep in mind, between Constellation and now, we've got Space Launch System, which has been announced.
Right.
They've been kind of cutting back on the commercial stuff.
Right.
So the article basically says, and whether you agree or disagree with it, the article basically says maybe we should stop funding all of these studies and just let NASA start to do some stuff. So that's actually our topic. What do you think NASA's role in 2012 should be?
And it actually goes into a little bit of, look, it's not like this study's never been done before.
Yeah.
We've been there, done that, and we keep getting the same answers every single time that we do this. So why do we keep asking the exact same questions to get the exact same answers,
but in all fairness,
and then not put any effort into making a change?
But don't the senators?
Here and there.
So we killed Constellation, and
right,
whether you're pro or con that, my personal, just me personally, not
right,
Spacevidcast or anyone else, just me personally, I think that was a good thing.
Okay.
Constellation to me did not make any sense. It was woefully over budget. The designs didn't make a whole lot of sense. Basically, Ares 1, there's no reason you couldn't have used a Delta IV.
Which is too bad because the patch was beautiful.
The Ares
gorgeous
one?
patch.
Yeah.
I loved the patch. Okay, anyway.
They could have made that for a Delta IV too.
They could have, but they didn't.
So Constellation didn't make any sense. I didn't understand why we're spending these billions of dollars. Now the Ares 5, which was the heavy lift rocket, the
right,
super heavy, that one made sense. And that's kind of what SLS has sort of turned into, is skip Ares 1, will flight qualify or human rate a Delta IV or It's a Delta IV, right, chat room? That we're human rating a couple of them actually, and it's Atlas, I think, as well. Atlas, so that the Sierra Nevadas, the little mini space shuttle.
Oh,
Dream Chaser.
Thank you.
Dream Chaser can go on top of an Atlas. They're doing all of that, but then we've still got the senators saying, okay, well, you guys need to make a really heavy launch system. The problem is they don't stop with that, and that's, in my opinion, where they should stop, right? The senators say, make a heavy rocket, and it needs to use this kind of fuel, and it needs to do these kind of things. And it's like, guys, you're not rocket scientists. I know you're getting input from really smart people, but let the rocket scientists build the rockets. And so we end up with this behemoth jobs program again, right? Where it's designed to do nothing but save jobs, which is unsustainable, which means we're gonna have to kill the program, which means we're gonna have to lose the jobs. So it doesn't feel like that made a whole lot of sense.
Right.
So what should NASA's role in 2012 be? You leave your comments on our page at spacevidcast.com or on the YouTube channel. Should we be doing these studies? Should we continue to say, all right, NASA, what are you doing? Where are you going? What's happening here? Or should we just kind of let them build SLS? Or should they do something else? Should they become the FAA of space, as it were? Should they focus only on robotic missions? Should they focus only on human missions, right? Because robotic missions, a lot of companies can do that. Although, I'll say MSL, the Mars Science Laboratory Curiosity, not a lot of people can do that.
This is very true.
So yeah, that's what's happening with NASA as of right now.
And any comments that you do leave, we do read all of them, as you'll see a little bit later on in the show. We read all of them. We'd like to give feedback to as many comments as possible.
Oh, sure.
It's not just you spouting off and just sort of going into the abyss. We do actually try to keep up this two-way conversation,
I don't
not
respond
just
to all
in the
of
show.
them, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
we try to keep going. So speaking of the U.S., we're trying to do this was I forgot who wrote this article. This was a Geek Asian article, and they likened this to us starting the United Federation of Planets.
Which I think we should.
Well, that's a bit out there, I think. But basically...
That's such a cool logo.
Hillary Clinton is working... she's the Secretary of State. She's working with a bunch of different countries to begin an international code of conduct for outer space. And I don't know where this really formed from, but it makes a lot of sense to me. Because a while back, China did a military demonstration of shooting down a dead satellite.
Right.
That's fine and dandy, except that now there's a ton of space debris that's been added because of this.
Right.
That's really bad neighborly stuff to do, right?
Right.
And if you look at space debris charts, they kind of go up, go up, go up, go up, and then you can see this straight line up.
It's kind of
when
ridiculous.
China did their, right? And and as Pete is saying in the chat room, we're scared China's not going to play nice. Which is funny because China asked to become part of the International Space Station. They said, we would like to work with you on this.
Right.
And we said no. So it's not like China.
They're really just retaliating at this point then.
I wouldn't say retaliation.
No, but you know what I'm saying?
But yeah, I mean, they
really? Well, we're just going to do it our way.
Well, kind of. That's where Tiangong 1 came from. They said, all right, we'll build our own space station. And, they're doing a lot of really cool things. I don't think it's... The issue I think that a lot of people have is that China's space program is part of the military.
Right.
Our space program is not, kind of, right? We have a military space program, but the public-facing one is NASA, and NASA is not.
Right.
So I think that's where the fear comes from. And maybe it's founded, I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen them do anything that I think is scary. All I've seen them do is put humans into space.
I mean, I think
and frankly, they're pushing the whole industry forward a little bit.
As Americans and growing up with our American space industry, and just NASA as a whole. I mean, I guess even people from across the world who've sort of watched NASA and the way that they conduct themselves and how everything is so open book. I mean, not everything, but they have a relatively open view of sharing information, like when stuff is happening and blah, 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 blah. And China seems to be very closed door.
And we don't like that. We didn't like that when Russia did it.
Right. Which is funny because they're allowed to do it, obviously. They can do whatever they want to do. But I think that's where part of the uncomfortability sort of comes, because we don't know what's going on, we don't know what's going on, and we don't know what's going on. And they're like, oh, by the way, we totally did this. Booyah. And we sort of get blindsided because it was like, oh, you did, who, when did, what? How did you never said you were gonna.
Well, I don't want to bring up a fear-mongering point of, well, we have to increase our space program because China could beat us.
No.
That's the wrong point. But I will say that if we truly are in that mentality right now, well, look at everything they're doing, then rather than building things like SLS, why not create a vision of the future?
Right. Go big or go home.
Go big or go home, right?
You know,
I mean, show that we are leaders in space and that China is catching up to us very slowly. Don't get me wrong; they're still kind of back in the Gemini,
right? But quickly,
Mercury, Gemini
they're flipping through those milestones real quick.
They are, but they're not up to our level yet. But they could get there, and the reason they could get there is because, in my opinion, they've stagnated. We've stagnated. Right? We've been orbiting the Earth for 30 years. Where are our humans back on the moon? Where are humans on Mars?
It's comfy there. We like it there.
It's not really comfy there.
Well, I don't know. Oh, see, Twitter's over capacity, but Tim 846 from our chat room tweeted out something earlier that basically said, like, there is no, it's still kind of the go big or go home sort of mentality of there is no such thing as fail, you just become more awesome.
Right.
And I think, unfortunately, that isn't exactly the sort of point of view that we've been holding here in the U.S. space program.
So in the chat room, they said, well, they're not moving that quick, which is true, right? I mean, it's not like they're going to be on the moon tomorrow.
No.
But they are catching up, and the reason they're catching up is because we're here and we haven't moved, and they're still down here, but they're moving forward. And if we don't move forward with them, then they will eventually catch up. It's just that easy.
That gap is getting smaller.
It is, right? And we're talking mostly human spaceflight. When it comes to robotics, NASA truly is cutting edge. The stuff they're doing is very innovative. Again, look at MSL. That's just a great example of just thinking way outside the box. There is no box with that one.
Right.
Crane landing, just
craziness.
Yep. So.
Yeah, Vax is saying that they could probably hit the moon in a decade.
Yeah, but we did that too, right? We hit the moon in a decade. We hit the moon in 9 years.
Yeah.
So they can as well, right? I mean, if they put their mind to it, if they have a vision for that, and as I understand it, having not been there, but as I read some of these articles, it sounds like their space program is a national pride thing. They really want it to succeed. It's a very prideful thing for them. So they are incentivized to make it go, whereas I feel like in America, with the exception of space geeks, right? So us space geeks, certainly a pride thing. We want it to succeed. We believe in it. We want all of them to succeed. We want NASA to succeed. We want Bigelow to succeed. We want SpaceX to succeed. We want Maston, Armadillo, all of them. Just keep blah, 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 keep going and going.
Galactic.
We want them all to go because we think this is awesome. But if you go down the street and you talk to someone who's not a space geek, they might say, well, why are we spending half of our budget on NASA? I'm not kidding. That's something they might say. And then you just kind of...
Have heard that.
Yeah. And so how do you
explain it and how do you justify?
How do you get people excited about it again when that's the case? So, yeah, and Wimvo, is that how you say it? Yeah. Said one of the disappointing things is on MSL Curiosity, the 3D stuff was canceled.
Yeah, it was too heavy.
Yeah, it would have been really awesome though. Although it made the rover look weird with like one big eye and one little. It's like, rah!
You know what they need? The 3D GoPros, like a 3D setup for that, right?
Yeah,
because that would have been.
Find a way to link back off, but yeah, that'd be awesome.
Anyway,
so yeah. Let's talk a little bit possible crazy, possible genius.
Possibly a little bit of both.
Well, it is on Yahoo, and I think there's a beautiful irony that this is a Yahoo
I was
link.
really kind of. I looked at this and I said, "Where did he find this?" I don't even.
I'll be frank. I'm just gonna, in advance, admit where I get most of my space news is on Reddit. Reddit, reddit.com/r/space is a fantastic resource for space nerds.
It can be.
It can be, yes. This absolutely came from Reddit Space, right? Yeah, chat rooms are like, Reddit space. Yes. I mean, we should. The live shows are basically, if you watch the rundown, they're basically the front news of Reddit space for the last week, is what they are. Nah, it's fun. It starts conversations.
There you go.
Yeah, Woe Jeffrey says he's never gotten into Reddit. Reddit space, so reddit.com/r/space. All the space geekery news you could ever want. But this particular story, and I've accidentally clicked on a thing.
Awesome.
A Russian scientist has published claims that he thinks there's evidence of life on Venus. Keep in mind, Venus is closer to the sun than we are, which means it is much, much hotter than the planet Earth.
It has a temperature right around 894 degrees.
I don't think I can pronounce his name. Can you pronounce that?
No.
I'm not going to try to pronounce his name because I'm going to get it wrong. It's
Leonid.
Leonid. We'll leave it at that. Nope, don't even try. He's analyzed some photographs.
I think it's Sanfomali from Fomaladi.
Whatever. He analyzed some photographs from a Russian space program that landed in the early 80s. And he's found some evidence of what could be modified life on the planet. And his point is, I don't know for sure, right? He's not saying there's life.
Right.
Well,
I mean,
he's saying,
at least he's not like, hey, you know what? I totally saw a picture of Hillary Clinton on Venus.
He's not being conspiracy theorist. He's looking at those going, if life were to evolve in this type of environment, it might look something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that in the chat room is kind of like, yeah.
Right.
The environment's kind of harsh. But in all fairness, we found life in nuclear reactors, right?
Right.
So life can evolve in places we never thought it could exist in.
Right. And he is talking about like microscopic,
As Zigger says, life finds a way. No,
Right.
he's not talking microscopic.
No, wait, isn't it like...
It's
Yeah.
objects resembling a disc or a scorpion. That's
Well,
not
I suppose,
microscopic.
but no, but down here it says scientists working on the project have not reported similar findings, but they have not ruled out the possibility of life, albeit probably microscopic, that could still lurk beneath
But that's
the
other
clouds.
people. He's saying
Well, yeah, he's saying
like scorpion-sized.
right.
Like that kind of life. Not intelligent life, just like little scorpion type things or something that's super hardened shell and can live in the extremely corrosive environment
Right.
of
Okay.
Venus, which is extremely corrosive. So, but maybe he's right. And we've always just assumed that life couldn't exist on Venus, but maybe that assumption's wrong.
Right.
Right? Because as we study life more and more, we find it can occur in more and more places than we originally thought. So our vision of what is required for life to happen is apparently much larger than we originally thought. So maybe he's right. Interesting. Read the story. You don't have to necessarily agree with it, but once again, comments in the YouTube or on our channel.
There you go.
And before we go to break, check this out. Blam. This was on your birthday. Thanks for that. Boom!
Everyone celebrates my day of birth.
That CME, or coronal mass ejection, is headed towards Earth. And last night and tonight, and for a little bit yet, Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights, should be epic.
Yeah.
Just amazingly epic as it interacts with our atmosphere.
God, if we thought we were too far south in Minnesota to see it, we're
way too far south now.
We're way too far south now, which is really unfortunate because it should be a national holiday, Nate. Thank you. That's beautiful, though. I apologize for any sort of issues that may cause or create. Even the day that
Knocking out satellites.
Even the day I was born in 1977, it snowed all the way down into the Bahamas. So apparently, no matter where I go, I create some sort of chaos.
Vax in the chat room says they're talking about red auras. Red auras based on the energy levels.
Awesome.
Yeah, so watch for this. Hopefully you're watching the show live or you see it soon because eventually it's going to pass. But there you go. So we'll be right back with a little bit more space geekery.
Please welcome Richard Garriott.
I am a computer game developer.
We think of him as the godfather of virtual world.
Your father had the right stuff, but in my opinion, you have even righter stuff. $30 million.
I will launch and become the first second-generation American astronaut. This entire year, I've been in Star City, just outside of Moscow, training.
This is the goal that I have really been working towards for 20 to 30 years.
The view is going to be fantastic, and you'll remember it for the rest of your life.
Look into her face, determination in her eyes. She won't give up or quit or fall for little fashion lies. Filled with awesome expectation, this girl's a fascination. And nothing in her way will keep her from her destination. 'Cause she's fire walking, she's fire walking. When it's hot, she keeps on moving. Through the heat, keeps on improving. Yeah, she's fire walking, she's fire walking to be free.
To turn on the microphones.
Yep.
I knew I would do that.
Yep.
It was just a matter of time.
Right.
Yep. During the break, we saw the Man on a Mission commercial.
We did.
And you had an opportunity to see that at South by Southwest 2 years ago? I think
Yeah,
it was?
2010.
So can you describe it a little bit? I mean, obviously we saw the commercial, but how would you review it?
Right. Well, interesting. I was discussing with, I think it was Dr. Kobrick, actually, because I believe he had seen it as well. And I'm not sure if he saw it before I saw it at South by or if he saw it just after. But he liked it, but he wasn't thoroughly impressed. And he felt like there wasn't enough of a story sort of threaded through the entire movie. And I said, well, yeah, okay, but it's not fiction, you know. This is essentially a documentary, and I still think it's interesting, you know, the way that Richard Garriott kind of came about and amassed this money by making really awesome video games, but his whole dream was to go into space, just like his father had for Space Lab. That's not what it is.
Yeah.
Is it?
No.
Oh my gosh, you guys! I can't even believe I totally
Skylab.
Thank you.
You got the lab right. And
Oh
I'm like,
my
no,
goodness.
it's lab. It's definitely
Oh,
lab. And I'm like,
Space
but
Lab.
Space Lab's on the show. I don't
Right,
understand.
Skylab. I'm so sorry. So Richard Garriott's father went up Skylab, which was sort of the International Space Station before the International Space Station, and
But it wasn't international though.
right.
It was a single
space
core
station.
space station. Yeah.
Anyhow, but so Richard wanted to go up. Because of all this money, he actually could purchase a ticket with the Russians to go up to the International Space Station. Trained with the Russians, went up, spent a few days up there. Actually created a first movie ever filmed on the International Space Station. Right? First,
The new one?
yeah.
Yeah. There's a new film coming out called Apogee of Fear. It's the first sci-fi film
That's-
actually shot in space.
Which awesome, right?
And in that film, NASA wouldn't let him release.
Right. And I can kind of understand. And I think the most interesting thing for me, besides the relationship that Richard obviously still has with his father, was that, even if you're just going for just space geekery part and not the emotional mushy stuff, which I was crying through about half of it, honestly. But on their descent back to Earth, he still has his camera rolling, which is stuff we never get to see in NASA landings. You don't see any of that. So you actually are seeing like the flames flying by on the window right next to him, and you're seeing all the jostling, and they hit the ground, and he kind of loses the camera a little bit. Like, it was crazy. It was really crazy, really insane. And I know you see it, and you understand that it's a jostle, and you understand that it's dangerous, and intellectually you understand all of that stuff, but to see it was like insanity. It was insane, and I thought it was really cool. I think Hantner said you're kind of screwed if you're not on the coasts for seeing this movie, but
It's been out for a while, and they keep making the release wider and wider and wider.
Right,
so
exactly.
eventually, I think you'll be able to do it, or just visit us here on the coast.
There you go. That, yeah, and or in the next couple of years, I'm sure it'll be on some sort of disc that you can see it on.
And the chat room has been talking about Apogee of Fear. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, NASA wasn't allowing it. The story is they are now going to allow it. So the first sci-fi film shot in space by Richard Garriott will be allowed to show somewhere. That's about all the more information I have. Hit the link at the bottom, which talks about it a little
Pretty
bit
much.
more. Actually,
It's about 8 minutes total. My understanding is that there's a faux preview in the beginning that takes up about a minute, 2 minutes of the 8 total. And I've read a couple places you can see kind of a cute synopsis of
You can actually
what the
see
video
it
is
on
about.
YouTube from like someone holding a camera as they watch it in a room.
Right, but so the audio is kind of crappy and the
And
video's
you got
not
heads
that great.
in the way. But
and-
if you wanted to kind of see it and get the gist of it, there you go. Just search YouTube for Apogee of Fear, and you'll be able to find it. It's like the top hit. Right,
Pretty
so
much.
there you go. But now you could actually get a IRL release without the heads and a really much better audio.
Totally.
This is awesome.
Yes.
Actually, I'm just going to cut to a shot of it. I think.
Okay.
Blam. That, my friends, is a Saturn V Lego rocket.
Yep. You can't buy a kit for that.
You can't buy a kit for that. This, wow. The amount
Apparently,
of,
Ben's got no words.
I
Ben
don't.
is speechless for this now.
I don't have words.
Holy cannoli.
And some of these shots, if you look, I don't know this for sure. Let me drop the graphic here. Look at that. I'm pretty sure that the Lego model is to scale to the little Lego figures.
Right?
So based on how tall the figures are, that's approximately how tall the vehicle should be. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but it looks about right when you're peeking at it, right?
You're right.
So we're just taking a few more, like, freaking
Yeah.
workers on the
Right. I mean, that seems about right.
Now here, this is cool too. You can actually open it up. You can see the tanks and the staging inside of the vehicle.
Yeah, this guy did an amazing
Right, so you can go inside the
amazing
vehicle, see
job.
the upper stage. I mean, yeah. And just in case you're wondering, he did throw a little Star Wars in there. If you take a peek, you got a little R2 and
Yeah.
C-3PO figures sitting right
Just
back
kind of
up
hanging
there.
out.
Yeah.
Hanging out.
I thought that was simply amazing. And you can hit, there's more on the IO9 story in the link at the bottom, and then there's also a link to his website. And he's got he didn't just do this. He's like a professional Lego
builder.
guy.
Yeah.
I don't know what to call him.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he's got some like epic pictures. He's got the Saturn V, which was also, I think, the tallest.
Tallest Lego
It's,
model.
a 19, it's 19 feet tall, and it's made of 120,000 Lego bricks.
I mean, crazy in a good way. Don't get me wrong.
It's the tallest Lego structure in Australia.
That makes sense.
Yep. Not
makes
here in the
sense.
States, because there's some really tall ones
Well,
made
right,
by
'cause it-
Lego here in the States. but
Right.
Yeah.
Legoland, Mall of America. Try a 4-story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyhow, very cool. Very, very cool.
You know, you mentioned earlier that we do read everyone's questions, and one thing we like to do is bring up some of those questions in the show. So we do have a few space questions that were asked on our YouTube channel or other areas as well.
Twitter.
This one came from YouTube. It's talking about last week's show. It's a common mistake. Again, every side of the moon becomes dark about once a month, and this is referring to, we had said we were talking about the movie The Iron Sky.
Right.
And I said they set up a moon base on the dark side of the moon.
Right.
I think I actually said that because I read that like in one of the synopsises.
Yeah, I think we really were just reading what somebody else had
Technically speaking, there is no dark side of the moon.
Right.
All sides of the moon do get sunlight, but because only one side of the moon faces us at any moment in time,
Right.
We don't see the other side of the moon unless we send some
So
sort
it's
of.
the far side of
The
the moon.
far side of the moon is
Not
technically speaking what
the
we
dark
should have
side.
referred to it as. And I do, it is fun. Any little slip up, even minor, we will get corrected on. And I hate it.
Yeah, we know.
I love it because you guys are passionate about getting things right
Yes.
and making sure that we're accurate. I hate it because I don't like messing up. And yeah, you're right. I should have said the far side of the moon.
It gets depressing sometimes.
one of the things I brought up in the last show,
Mostly just for me, yes.
I brought up we were talking about the space shuttle, and I said, actually, if we wanted to send the space shuttle to the moon, we
Right.
did a study that said we could do it.
Right.
And then there was this comment, even if the shuttle did do that, it won't be able to re-enter at that speed, so you not only need fuel for doing the TLI, translunar insertion, but you also need some for slowing down once you get back to Earth. That would be correct, right? Because Vax, help me out. I want to say it's a 25,000 mile per hour reentry as opposed to 17,500, so substantially fast. Chat room, you probably know better than I, but I want to say that when you return from the moon, it's around 25,000 miles per hour. So it's quite a bit faster than if you're just in low Earth orbit. And they do talk about that, and I said that there was actually an article, and there is. At the bottom of your screen is a link to the PDF from NASA talking about the feasibility analysis of cislunar flight using the shuttle orbiter. Poofda, that's an easy title. It's long, and it goes into detail as to what it is and how it would work and how all of this stuff would get put together into one cohesive plan of having the space shuttle go to the moon, drop off payload, and come back.
Right.
Now, it would not go to the moon, land, and come back. I think I
Right.
joked about that.
There
but
was
let's
no
be clear.
vacations
Let's be
going
clear. It's
on.
not landing on the moon.
Right.
Right. It's circling the moon, dropping off some sort of payload, and then burning back to Earth.
Right.
And the study, if I could sum the study up, it basically said, yeah, we could do that, but you can't bring very much payload, if really any at all.
Right.
And really, it would almost be cheaper just to design a vehicle, from scratch
Right.
to go to the moon, as opposed to trying to retrofit the orbiter and make it go to the moon. So the analysis was, this is a dumb idea, but here's how you would do it if you wanted to do it. So there you go. So that was that from the last show,
I
and
love
how you
it.
can do that. And like I said, that was an official NASA link, so it's not like some crazy guy doing it. That's on NASA's website, and you'll notice that in the URL bar when you get around the. So this next one, I just posted the whole quote in here. I didn't even fix any of the grammar or anything like that. So
Okay.
I really don't. I try to put the quotes in exactly as is. Sometimes I'll capitalize the first letter, but seriously, people, basic English, come on.
Well, when you're passionate and you're typing, you don't
I
always
guess,
go back to
I
double check
suppose.
you've.
I suppose. This is not in reference to last week's show. This is in reference
Okay, I'm
to.
like, I definitely needed context on this
Yeah,
one.
you need context before I give you this one. The context of this is a year or two ago, we did a space pod on the Russian MAX plane, MAKS.
See, I told you we read everything.
We do. We read all of your comments. And this was a brand new comment to that really old post.
Right.
And we had said that one of the ideas is that it would help drive the cost of payload to orbit down.
Right?
And so the comment, I'm not going to read the whole thing, is basically the comment, if I were to sum this up, it basically says, yeah, but no, because we've been promised lower cost payload to LEO forever. And the space shuttle was supposed to radically reduce the cost. And not only did it not reduce the cost, it increased the cost of payload to orbit.
Right.
And there is no good example of reducing the cost of payload to orbit. And I guess my response to that is, just because we haven't figured out how to do it yet doesn't mean that we won't figure out how to do it in the future. We've got a lot of very smart companies and people
Right.
working on how to reduce the cost of payload to orbit from thousands and thousands of dollars to that sub $1,000 mark, maybe even a sub $100 mark. And just because we haven't figured it out yet doesn't mean we won't figure it out in the future.
Right.
Maybe it's the MAX stuff that they were working on, bringing that back. And actually, one thing I don't think we did talk about, speaking of MAX, which was basically a predecessor to Spaceship One, White Knight One, right? Where you've got the carrier aircraft, and then you've got a spaceship, and then you drop the spaceship. The difference is, on White Knight One and Spaceship One, you've got the aircraft and you've got the spaceship underneath it, and you drop the spaceship and then it kind of goes up.
Right.
On Max, you've got the carrier aircraft and the spaceship sits on top, and then the plane kind of dips down and then it goes like that.
Gotcha.
That was the big design, one of the big design differences. Well, a couple weeks ago, I don't remember the exact date, Paul Allen, Burt Rutan, and Dr. Mike Griffin I think those were the only three at the table. I think there was a fourth, but I don't remember who now. I'm sorry. Did a press conference announcing Stratolaunch.
Right.
Stratolaunch is like, if you're familiar with Virgin Galactic, which is a bigger version of White Knight 1, Spaceship One, that
Right.
won the Ansari X Prize. It's able to carry 6 people plus a pilot to orbit. Not to orbit. Oh man, I'm gonna get reamed for that. You cannot go to orbit. Can't go to orbit. Suborbital. Maybe
it's that seat.
it must be. Wow, I said well, I won't even linger
sorry.
on that. See, yeah, everyone's like, yeah, you wish. Oh, well, that's what Stratolaunch is. It's a ginormously huge carrier craft. We're
Right.
talking 747.
Right.
Hugely huge plane, right? And underneath it, they're going to launch a rocket.
Right.
And they're going to send that up to Leo. And the whole idea is that it can go to Leo. So, yeah, that could potentially bring the cost down. I'm not sure it will, but
That'd be interesting.
you know, there's a lot of Paul Allen, a co-founder of Microsoft, so he's got some money to throw at this. Yeah, they're asking if there's any details released yet. None of the details that you guys would like to hear that I've really seen. You know, we'll see how it works. Burt Rutan, he builds working craft, right? I mean, he won the Ansari X Prize.
Didn't he retire?
He's retired like 6 or 7 times now.
Just checking.
So you know, this will be the 8th or 9th time he's he's retired.
Great.
But yeah, it will be interesting. I guess my point is we've got Stratolaunch working on it. We've got SpaceX working on it. We've got smaller companies working on different scenarios like Maston and Armadillo Aerospace. We've got orbital launch systems. We've got what's her name? Sea Launch is back.
Oh.
They're out of chat. They got bought by someone. They're back. They're launching again.
Nice.
So you know they could, if they can figure it out, they could help reduce the cost because they can launch from really close to the equator. So yeah, I
Nice.
mean there are a lot of companies working on making this go. Just because the space shuttle didn't figure it out doesn't
Right.
mean that others won't too. Any
There you
closing
go.
thoughts from you or from the?
No, no. I'm good.
Yeah, actually, Nebula 1701 in regards to Burt Rutan said that
Yes.
people who are passionate may say they retire,
Yeah.
but they always come back.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Absolutely. Well, that's our show this week. Like we said, if you have any comments you'd like to leave, go ahead and do that in the YouTube room. Do it in Twitter. Do it on Facebook. Do it wherever you'd like. Our post show's up next, so you're free to watch that live. If you're not watching live and would like to participate in post show, you can purchase Spacevidcast Epic, which is enhanced productions, interview, and content. Basically, I came up with the word first and then had to figure out how to turn it into an acronym. And that will allow you to watch post shows as well as extended interviews or presentations that we have. For example, Doug Jones, is it?
Yeah.
From XCore did a presentation at the last LA Space Salon.
Yep.
And we're pretty close to finishing up that edit, and that will be split into 2 sections. So you will get some of it for free, but if you want to see the whole thing from start to finish, you'll have to be a Spacevidcast Epic subscriber. And you can get more information about that program at spacevidcast.com/epic. And your subscriptions help us produce the show and make stuff go.
A backronym.
A backronym, that's the word I was looking for.
That's exactly
backronym. That's
what
exactly
that
what it
was.
was. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Remember, new show time, Sundays, 2200 Coordinated Universal Time, which is 2 p.m. Pacific Time or 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See you guys next week.